Hi Simone, I'm doing this video just for you. The hook I'm using here is a Gamakatsu C15BV. This happens to be a size 16. That thread is Uni 17-aught Trico in white. It only comes in white. You start off with the thread. See those nippers? You can get those at Walgreens. Anyway, take your thread, clear back into the bend. Now I've got a piece of boar hair. What's nice about the boar hair, a lot of the pieces come already split, and so they're perfectly split tails. Now, tie it in. Now I've also got a piece of the stem off of one of those coq de leon feathers. Now I use the feathers that don't have any usable fibers, and I just strip off those fibers. I'm just adjusting the length there. And just tie the baby down. Try to keep that stem of boar hair up on the top of the hook. Bring it up to the front. Trim and tie it off. Yeah, those nippers are in Walgreens. They only cost like $4, $3.99, and they're perfect for trimming stuff to the quick. I readjust my hook so I get better access to the shank of the hook. Hang my bobbin off on my bobbin hanger, and then I'll begin wrapping the CDL stem in concentric circles. Man, this stuff, I was putting, and I'll sometimes still do it, I'll put UV resin on it, but a lot of times I just leave it alone. Another thing that you can do that can help you is to put some super glue on the abdomen, and it'll help keep it in place, but I just like the way it turns out. And the way I'm wrapping it is I actually I visualize it dropping it on top of the previous wrap so that when I pull on it, it drops right into position so I don't leave any gapes. And I'm just going to bring it up into the front of the hook. No, I can't wrap that fast. I've actually got slowed down sections, normal sections, and speeded up sections for the video. This is a speeded up section. I'm actually playing with I got a new camera, and I'm playing with different stuff at the slow motion. So I record it all in slow motion, but I speed up sections and I use the slow motion when I want to. Now I'm just going to take that CDL fiber and tie it off. I trimmed off the rest of that stem, locked off the thread. Now I'm just I've got a piece of 6X fluorocarbon. And it's going to be my loop and be actually the post of my hackle. There's my 6X. I've actually done this with 7X also. Now you really want to lock this sucker down, so you'll see me use my whip finish, and I'm just trying to make sure that that post doesn't move, because you don't want to go this far and all of a sudden the darn thing comes apart. Now create a loop, just an overhand loop, and then I'm wrapping another 6 to 10 wraps right there at that juncture, and that's to nail that sucker down too on that end. So you've got actually 2 stems of that loop that you're going to pull on to tighten down your hackle. You'll see in a second. And this is a normal time section. But you can see that loop that I've created, and I'm hanging it in a parachute hanger. Actually a homemade parachute hanger. Now see, I've stripped off some of the hairs, and I left quite a bit of stem there. And now I'm going to lock that piece of hackle, because also I don't want that to pull out, which I've done before. And you don't have to, do whip finishes. I just have a tendency, I just like to lock it down. And I'll pull that baby up out of the way. Now I've got a piece of peacock curl in, I believe it's in brown or dark olive. And it's going to be my thorax area. So I get a little flashy, a little frizzy. I'll tie that in. Adjust the length and lock it down. All right, now I'm just gonna hang my bobbin off my bobbin hanger and wrap that few wraps of that peacock curl around that base and around the thorax. And tie it off and trim. Now I'm going to cut my thread off because I don't need it anymore. And what I'm doing is I'm going to take that hackle and wrap around that loop that I've made out of that 6-pound 6X tippet. And I'll wrap it like 6 to 8 times all the way around, and then I'll capture 2 wraps inside the loop to lock it down with. Now this is the slow motion part of the video. So you got to bear with me. I wanted to see what it would look like slowed down. The trick is to put enough pressure on the hackle so that it doesn't create much of a loop there, but also so that it doesn't wander up. See how I'm trying to put the stem wraps right on top of one another? And I've also done this with 2 different pieces, 2 different colors of hackle like you would on a Parachute Adams, like grizzly and brown. This happens to be straight done, but I've actually done grizzly and brown at the same time. This just happens to be a done hackle. And what I'm doing is that loop gets a little twisted, and I'm untwisting it so that it makes it easier to pull down on. You'll see in a second. See how I split those threads? That also forces or jams down that hackle. So I'm going to wrap it around a couple times more. I just like the slow motion. Now what I'm doing is I'm splitting that loop open, and I'm going to pull my hackle through it, and I'm going to do it twice. I'll wrap it around one more time, but it's actually only going around the one side of the loop. And then I'll split that loop open again, and I'll thread my hackle through that loop. And that's what I'm going to use to capture my hackle. And it has never, you know, if I do it properly, I set the base down properly, I've never had a problem with it coming apart. See how I catch? Now you can see, you can barely see it, but I've taken that one end of that loop and I'm pulling that loop so that it collapses down. So, and the main thing with that loop is to make sure that it doesn't get twisted, just so that you don't get a knot. It usually does it pretty well. As soon as I move my hand, you'll be able to see what I'm up to. See how it stacked it and pulled it down? Now what I'll also do is you could also pull the other end of that loop that's coming off the front. And that's what you're going to see I'm doing. I'm going to take my pliers, hold that, and pull on both at the same time. But I get that nice, flat, broad area, and it really holds up the flies really well. Yeah, see, now I've gone back to normal speed. And I just have to trim everything off. And I learned this technique from my buddy Roy Christie over in the UK. And that's my little parachute, reverse parachute emerger. Take care, Simone.